You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
From Joey McGuire and offensive coordinator Mac Leftwich. Kind of interesting to me because there's been a lot of folks out there asking about how are we going to get back to some explosive plays in the passing game and getting back down the field. And it sort of sounds like that answer might begin somewhat with get back to running the football. Take a listen.
2 weeks ago, we were really dominant coming off the ball in the run game against Kansas, and then I think we took a step back these last 2 weeks. Yesterday, whenever we went through the plan to win, the one part that we did not win, our second one is dominate up front, and they had more rushing yards than we did. I mean, we've got to be able to run the football. I mean, that takes the pressure off of everybody, and we got to find good runs with the running backs, and this is going to be a big part of the game plan this week of finding their right runs against this defense and being able to execute them.
I think when you don't run the ball successfully, it's a combination of things. It's probably a little bit we got to do a better job as coaches scheming up the run plays, and then the actual execution. And it's a combination of kind of it was one of those days where the times that they would block it up well, the quarterback threw the RPO, or the O-line would block it up well and the running back maybe didn't hit it the right way. And so there's so much the times that we did have a play called that should have been successful, maybe they didn't block it up as well as as they should have. And so it was a little bit of a combination, kind of all those things. So just getting back to the basics and being really clean in our fundamentals, and making sure we're putting our guys in a position to be successful to run the football, and then going out in there and execution. The execution, the physicality is going to be at a premium this week for sure. The games that we've been successful, I think when we've really been in rhythm on the offense, we've been able to do both. You've got to be able to establish the run, and then I think that does open up, some of those explosive passes. I think when you're not able to run the football, one, it's hard to stay ahead of the chains, and it's hard to stay on schedule and play in rhythm on offense. So, you would like to see the running game get back going this week for sure, which will be a challenge because Kansas State's good.
There's a level of regression or it all not working well in the last couple of weeks. I think we've all seen it. We've all wondered aloud about it. And whatever the reasoning is, Jacoby's ankle, the setting, the playing surface, the other team, deciding to throw it instead of running it right there in an RPO where it's just a bang bang scenario, whatever. It just hasn't looked like it needed to in the last couple of weeks compared to when you saw them versus Kansas, when it's just like so you need to come away from this game basically being Kansas State champs. I should say state of Kansas champs.
Right,
because that's the last time you look good against these guys. But because that night it just seemed like you played motivated and angry, and but I want some of that. Playing with a purpose, and I think we'll have to see what it looks like with Will Jados as we go along this week. I think that's a fair question to wonder aloud about. But
and how many? Refresh my memory, Chris. How many are we including that could be part of a shuffle if he's not in the mix? I think we were talking 2 or 3 guys. 2 guys.
If Jados isn't in the mix,
yeah, it's not just a plug and play with somebody else, is it? Or would there be more of a shuffle?
Okay, so here's what it does to you. So say he's not available or he has to come out, whatever. Cash Cleveland, my thought would be that's who plays left guard. But what Jados also is your third offensive tackle. Okay, So if something were to have happened with Howard or Ponton, Jados would come in and fill in on either side, and you move those guys around, and then Cleveland would come in to fill in it with Jados. So the real question is now who's your backup interior guy? Now if Cleveland is in there, and now who's your backup tackle? Because Jados was kind of this, So
and one of the backup tackles is our starting center, correct? I thought we had mentioned that at one point in time.
Well, I think it's kind of changed over the, because I think Hunter Zambrano, I think that he's staring at a red shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been out for a variety of weeks. I think that he hasn't played but 3 or 4 games, and that's something we talked about on the radio broadcast over the weekend, because he wasn't even suited up, and because he would have been a backup at tackle. You still got Vinny Scurry around. You've got Daniel Sill around. Holton Hendricks is back. Connor Carty and Deanthus Upshaw are just younger and inexperienced, but I don't know. But I think I'm as curious as you are on one. Will Jados play, and then 2, if he, because it just leads to one question leads to a variety of other questions, or one answer provides to another series of questions, I should say. So yeah, but that you just are gonna have to, just to help Barron. I mean, I just feel like you if not, I feel like you may see the same movie like you saw at Arizona State, where it feels like there's 13 guys out there. The crowd's going to feel like they're on top of you and going to be loud, and just the whole thing. So there's just got to be a level of grit your teeth, and we are running the ball today. There is no plan B. Damn it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Okay. Can I ask you about this sort of different approach than what you described there when you're talking about needing to help out Barron? Because there's been a ton of conversation. I know I've been texting with mobsters all day, all night. My wife is asking me, begging me, spend some time with the children, get some sleep, eat a meal. I said, no, this is late October, early November football we're talking here. I got to visit with the mob. Just a ton of conversation, Chris, about the fact that for whatever reason, it seems like maybe Hammond and or Griffiths were unable to punish an opposing defense for stacking or loading a box, whereas there's some thought that Morton might be able to do that. So I'm kind of wondering, in a different route, is it Morton that's actually more so going to help the ground game by being back on the field? Does that make sense? First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly feel the call of the stadium. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can then splurge on foods, drinks, gear, and more. Gametime makes it all possible. And best of all, Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And if you're like me, you get tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, and that's why Gametime's Zone Deals is the go-to move, since it automatically picks the best seats in your section for you at the best price. And as always, you can get a view from your seat right there in the app. So before you buy, you know exactly what you're going to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. Locked on College for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed.
Yeah. So what I think Barron is good at, and this is what people, when they're watching these games, myself included, and you too, we don't really have a grasp of it until it's over with, and you kind of get a feel from talking to people or listening to how that, whatever, like a quarterback's ability to manage or manipulate a game from the standpoint of, is he putting the team in the right play? Is he checking in, checking out? Is he on the RPO stuff? Is he giving? Is he throwing? Did he make the right choice? Is he attacking the right read because of what he can see pre-snap? All these things, and I think that's where Barron's experience can certainly come into play. I think he's well studied, and I think that some of what you're talking about plays into that there. It's not like any of them are perfect. And sometimes it's like, I guessed wrong, or no, that wasn't a check. That's just a bad read, whatever. But I think that's kind of what you're talking about, in my opinion.
I think so. And I'm buying into it a little bit. Of course, I'm just looking for reasons to believe you can get the ground game back on track, but maybe it's not so appetizing for a defense to creep toward the line of scrimmage if you've got, get this, the starting quarterback playing. I like the idea. Let's try it out this Saturday. QB1 back on the field. I think could be exciting. Chris, before we wrap it up today, let's take a trip to the other end of the depth chart, which all of a sudden became like the forefront of the depth chart on Saturday against Oklahoma State. Mitch Griffiths, a man whose name was called several times on Saturday, well beyond just the garbage time kind of dreams that we were thinking about. It may have been garbage time because of the score, but obviously, you know the story with Will Hammond exiting the game, exiting the season with an ACL injury, and Griffiths' name being called the working man's kind of QB. Let's take a listen to his offensive coordinator, Mac Leftwich, talking about what he sees in Mitch, what he likes about him as a QB, and, of course, how this relationship came to be. And maybe because you didn't know,